Before Africa can train the next AI model or host the next cloud region or become a digital bridge between continents, it must answer a very simple question. And this question is the following: where will the electricity come from? Very important to know. And I'll tell you more about that, but just give me a few seconds and we'll be back for sure. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Tony. I'm the founder and CEO of RIA. What we do is very simple. We raise awareness about renewable energy and sustainability. So if you're interested to break into Africa or expand into the continent, we are your eco bridge to this market and we can help you with three things: the visibility, the leads, and the deals, right? So if you want to decarbonize, we gain your eco bridge sustainable pathway and we can help you with carbon footprint assessment, carbon reduction strategy. If you have any carbon project, you want us to help you to structure that, or maybe you have a project already structured, you want to sell it to global buyers, reach out to us. More than happy to talk to you about that. Now, I want to talk to you about what's happened, in Kenya recently this week. It's been very interesting because Kenya gave us a story that looks like a data center story on the surface, but underneath, it's actually a story about power, planning, and also ambition, and the future of Africa digital economy. So you may have heard about it. There was a $1 billion Microsoft G42 data center project in Kenya. It was once announced as a landmark investment powered by geothermal energy, great renewable energy, and positioned as a gateway for cloud, but also AI services across East Africa. But this has reportedly stalled over one issue: energy capacity. And President Ruto put it in a way that is actually hard to ignore. So let me just share with you what he said, and you can see the message just scrolling down below. And he said, one data center, one third of national capacity. I'm sure you and I would agree that this could be a problem, right? But before I explain what this means, let's hear the moment more directly so you will see what we're talking about here. Let me share here a short clip of him saying that, right? And we can then come back and have further conversation about it. Let me just share that with you guys.
Trip I went to the United States with Biden. So we signed an agreement there between G42 of UAE, Microsoft of America, and Kenya to establish a data centers. Sindio? Sasa wakati nimerudi nyumbani, haya tumeanza data center. Tukaambiwa one data center requires 1,000 megawatts. Na tuko na 2,003. Tuko na 2,300 megawatts the whole country. So ili tufanye hiyo data center, we have to shut down half the country. Unaona sasa? So we need to have, if we have to industrialize, if we have to engage in manufacturing, we need minimum 10,000 megawatts of energy.
Okay, so I think this clip that we just watched is very powerful because it changes the conversation. Yes, it actually reminds us that artificial intelligence is not just floating in the cloud, as you may think. The cloud is not actually in the sky. The cloud is land. The cloud is fiber. The cloud is water. The cloud is cooling. And above all of it, the cloud is electricity. And I'd like you to properly understand that because this is very much crucial for you to understand that. Yeah. To understand, obviously, what we're talking about here. And here is an uncomfortable truth. So, Africa may have the talent, the demand, the young population, the digital entrepreneurs, the mobile first consumers, and also the global investors' interest. But if the continent cannot match digital ambition with energy infrastructure, then Africa will not own the AI future. It will only rent it from somewhere else. And that is why, for me, this Kenya story matters far beyond Kenya. It's not just about one project. It's not just about Microsoft, as one may think. It's not just about G42. It's not even just about data center. It's about whether Africa can build the physical backbone of a digital economy. But before carry on there, let me just talk to you about what actually happened. So you understand. So let me just break it down for you. So in fact, in May 2024, so during President Ruto's state visit to Washington, Microsoft and UAE-based G42 announced a $1 billion digital ecosystem initiative of Kenya. Whoa, very good. The centerpiece of that was a green data center campus, in Olkaria, which is an area famous for geothermal power, which is definitely what we want, right? The idea was attractive and strategically very powerful, and a major cloud region in East Africa. You know, Microsoft Azure's services, closer to African businesses and also government. Come on, man. Who wouldn't dream about something like that, right? So, local language AI development, digital skills, connectivity investment, and also a data center powered by Kenya geothermal advantage. On the paper, when you look at that, right, it looks like a model for the future. So, Africa renewable energy meeting global AI infrastructure. Yeah. And something like that, when I look at that, I'll dream about it every day. But then came the math, because the important to always do the math, like I said, to see whether the thing makes sense. So recent reports say that Kenya installed capacity, it's around 3 gigawatts, 3,000 megawatts. And the data center projects, at hyperscale could require roughly a third of that. And some reporting that the initial data center was around 100 megawatt with potential expansion to up to 1 gigawatt. And this is where the dream meets the great. Yeah? You can use this line, for your rap song. The dream meets the great. Because a country cannot build the future by switching off the present. No, it's not possible. You cannot power AI by taking electricity away from hospitals, household, schools, small factories, but also existing industries. That is not possible. So whether we call this project suspended, stalled, delay, under review, the strategic signal is the same. And what is it? Is that Africa AI ambition are now colliding with Africa energy reality. That's important. And to be fair, Kenya own official, they've pushed back against report that the project is formally suspended. Let me just be fair that the more precise interpretation is this: Kenya still wants the project, but the country has been forced to confront the scale of power needed to make such project real. And it's good to be able to be faced with reality, right? To be able to make proper decision, not just come up with white elephant project that go nowhere, right? And I know something like that in my own country. So the distinction matters because this should not be read as Kenya is walking away from AI. That's far from being the truth. And I've been in Kenya recently, like I say, and I can tell you that's definitely not the case. They're not walking away from AI. It should be read as Kenya discovering the entrance exams. And the first subject of this entrance exam is energy. Yeah. So now, why does this matter for Africa? So you're probably gonna ask me a question. Why does it matter, Tony? Why are you telling us all of that, right? So let me tell you why it matters for Africa. Now, why should policymakers in Ghana, investors in London, developers in Lagos, or energy professionals in Kigali care about this? Why? So because Kenya is not an exception, guys. Kenya, for me, it's a preview. Across the continent, government want AI strategies. I know what I'm talking about. I'm talking to a number of them. So bank wants cloud services. Startup wants low latency infrastructure. Public institution want secure data storage. Developers, they want local compute. Investor want digital growth. And citizens want faster, cheaper, more reliable services. But all of this require one thing: infrastructure. Yeah. And the AI economy is far more energy hungry than the mobile internet economy that came before it. That's the one thing that you should know, right? So, a mobile app that can scale across Africa using relatively light infrastructure, it's different from an AI app. Yeah. AI needs high density compute. High density compute creates heat, and heat requires cooling, right? Cooling requires water, power, and engineering, and the entire systems, yes, so require uptime, redundancy, and also grid stability. So this is the part many AI conversations skipping. They're talking about models, prompts, app, or innovation hubs. But the AI race more precisely, is also a race for substation, for a transmission line, for renewable base load, for power purchase agreements, for cooling system, and also bankable infrastructure finance. So the International Energy Agency estimate that global data center consume about 415 terawatt hours of electricity in 2024. And by 2030, that could double to around 945 terawatt hour. So this is not a small trend, guys. No, the world is actually being an AI economy that eats electricity. That's something we should be faced with. Yeah. And the question for the continent of Africa is simple. Will we only be users of that economy, or will we host part of the infrastructure? So, if I want to stay with Kenya for a second, I want to talk to you about the old carrier geothermal thin field transmission and turbine, because this makes a story very interesting. So Kenya is not a country with no energy story. In fact, Kenya has one of the strongest renewable energy narrative on the continent. You have geothermal power, which is a serious advantage. Yeah, you should know that. So it provides cleaner base load power. That's what I'm saying. People saying that you can't industrial with renewable. That's wrong. Geothermal prove the opposite. It means that it can run, day and night, unlike solar that depend on sunlight or wind that depend on wind condition. And that's exactly why old carrier was attractive. So a geothermal power data center sound like the perfect African AI infrastructure story, right? Low carbon, strategically located, but also regionally relevant. But renewable energy is not magic. So a renewable energy source only becomes an economic advantage, when it is scaled, connected, financed, dispatched, and backed by a grid that can absorb no industrial demand. In other words, green it's not enough. It has to be available. It has to be reliable. It has to be affordable. And it has to be planned before the investment, announcement, not after it. Definitely not. In fact, if you don't plan it, you're never going to get that investment announcement. And this is the big lesson. So Africa Clean Energy can attract the next generation of digital infrastructure, but only if energy planning and digital planning happen in the same room. Yes. Too often we treat them as separate, right? Separate sectors. No, digital planning, energy planning in the same room. The ICT ministry announcing the cloud, the energy ministry managing the generation, the treasury looking at the financing, the regulator reviewing the tariff, and the utility worries about the grid. Yeah. But the AI infrastructure does not care about government silos. The data centers need all of those systems to work together. Yeah. And that is why that is not just a power problem, it's also a coordination problem. And most of the time in countries of Africa, the issue we've had is coordinating all of these different services. So let me talk about another potential case study, not potential case study that exists. You have the tidal cities, which shows the right side path, and that's actually in the East Africa region still. So the story become more hopeful in this way, because why the Microsoft G42 problem has run into question at hyperscale. Kenya data center sector is not just standing still. You have Airtel Africa I think Nextra, which is developing a 44 megawatt data center at Taru City, which is expected to become one of East Africa's largest facility when completed. And Taru City say that the site is supported by 95% renewables energy and 135 mega VA, yeah, mega voltage substation, underground fiber, and also reliable water supply, right? And this is an industrial grade infrastructure. So it tells us something very important that we should know. The issue is not whether Kenya can host data center, right, or data system, right? The issue is scale, sequencing, and also readiness. Yeah, that's what I want to say. So scale must match capacity, and it's important for us to understand that scale must match capacity. So a 44 megawatt facility is not the same as a hyperscale campus that could eventually demand hundreds of megawatts or even approach gigawatt scale. And that difference matters because Africa should not only chase the biggest announcement, it should also build a ladder. In fact, building a ladder is probably what we need most of the time. First, you want to have a regional facility that can match existing capacities. You want to have renewable powered industrial parks. Then you want to have a dedicated generation for digital infrastructure. And then hyperscale campuses tied to long term power expansion. Then you can get the AI compute cluster that can serve Africa and also global demand. So, this is how, in my humble opinion, the digital infrastructure becomes sustainable, right? Not by making the biggest announcement ever, or but by making the execution stronger. And this is where investors should pay attention. The best opportunities may not always be in the headlines for me. Those headline grabbing billion-dollar project, they may be in the enabling infrastructure, substation, grid update, cooling technology, energy storage, fiber routes, land banks, renewable PPA, and special economic zone that can actually deliver uptime. That's what we're talking about here. So one last case study I want to talk to you about, it's South Africa and the role of data center investment. So if you look at, for example, the Johannesburg skyline, which is the data center exterior, right? So Microsoft recently announced a $329 million expansion in South Africa cloud infrastructure. But pay attention to that, yeah, to what investment has unfolded here. It's not just servers, it's not just cloud capacity, it's not just AI training. It actually includes land acquisition, power readiness, and also water readiness, which is what you want, right? That's the new rule. Data center investors are not just asking, is there a demand? No, they're asking, can this market support mission critical infrastructure? Can the grid handle it? Can the water system support cooling? Can the regulator environment support long-term contract? Can the country guarantee uptime? Can the site expand over 10 or 20 years? This is what you want. AI infrastructure is not just a normal real estate project. It's an energy project wearing a digital jacket. Yeah, this is where Africa needs a mindset shift. And I've always said that the first issue of Africa is not poverty, it's not disease, what we want, it's mindset. So we should stop thinking about data center as just technology asset only. We should think about that as anchor customer for energy transformation. If we do that, we on the path to, like I say, uh, the right solution. A hyperscale data center can help finance new renewable generation. It can justify transmission upgrade. It can create demand for battery storage. It can support geothermal expansion. It can attract fiber investment. It can help us all industrial park becoming more competitive, but only if the project is structured properly. So if not, it becomes a burden on national grid, and that is a choice. Data center can either stress the grid or strengthen the grid. The difference is in planning. Yeah. So that is what I wanted to share with you today. So let me know what you think, because you know some people may say, you know, so Africa is not ready for AI. I personally believe that, to me, is the wrong conclusion. The right conclusion is Africa is ready to a more honest, AI conversation, because the danger is not just Kenya asking the hard question. The danger would have been to ignore the hard questions until the grid fail, cost rose, and public trust collapses, right? So, in fact, Kenya has done the continent a favor. It has put the real issue on the table. Africa does not lack ambition, does not lack talent, does not lack entrepreneurs, does not lack renewable power, right? So, no, renewable potential, not no power. Yeah, it's important. But the ambition needs infrastructure. And the next phase of African technology will belong to countries that understand one thing very clearly. So you cannot build digital sovereignty with an unstable grid. No, it is not possible. So if that's what you were thinking, please rethink again. So here is the item I asked for you, see if you don't mind. So you want to share this video to one policymaker, an investor, an energy professional, and technology leader who still thinks that AI infrastructure, energy infrastructure are separate conversation, because they are not. The country that understand this first will not just attract data center, they will attract as well the future. Yeah. So hopefully it makes sense for you. So I know it was a bit of a long video, but it was an important one to get right. Yeah. So I'm hoping that I've helped to provide you much more information. So obviously I'm Tony. It's RIE. We're connecting clean energy, digital transformation, but also attract Africa growth frontier. And definitely one thing that you want to pay attention, remember from this video, it's no megawatts, no AI. Please bring them together in the conversation, and I'm sure we can move forward. Yep. Thank you very much, guys. And I see you next time. Don't forget to share this video. I count on you, and drop your comments. Have a great Sunday. Take care. Bye bye.